It's a new user interface. I call it spatial computing because HoloLens is a few new technologies put together. The first is there's an optic system that's throwing virtual items on top of the real world. So if I was looking at you with a HoloLens, there might be a dancer on your table, or there might be a virtual screen. So, in fact, when I was up in Seattle, I met with some of the pioneers who built the HoloLens, and their desk, they don't have screens anymore. They just wear HoloLens, and they have 4 virtual screens in front of them where they can code or do graphics or answer email. And as you walked around their office, they had virtual items on literally everything. They had games on the wall where there was zombies coming out of the wall, and you had to shoot them with your hands, by the way, because there's sensors on the HoloLens that map out the world. And it knows what this room would look like if I was wearing it, right? And it builds a set of polygons on top of every surface, and then it can put virtual items on top of those surfaces. So we could have a little dancer on the table here. We could have a Monopoly game.
You can leave like little Post-its in the real world, and it geolocates them in some way. But what's very interesting about it is, unlike the Microsoft Glass, which you're a big proponent of Google Glass rather. Unlike Google Glass, Microsoft's HoloLens is a contained computer. Yep. So it's wrapping around your entire head. So it's a little bit bulkier. It's not as lightweight, but it doesn't require a phone, and it's got a very powerful processor, apparently, from what I could tell, because it's so snappy and responsive. And we were leaving little 3D objects, and it's very interesting when you go through the tutorial. You just put your hand, I'm putting my hand in front of me right here, and you just put your finger up like you're saying 1 minute to somebody, and you just tap it down like Red Rum in The Shining. Red Rum, Red Rum. Remember he kept doing that? Red Rum, Red Rum. It's murder backwards. And that's your tapping. And then the other gesture, which I thought was really interesting, is if you put your 5 fingers up,
bloom,
like you're doing, hey, hasta suonar, che sta dice? Like you're an Italian guy when you hold up all your fingers, but you open it up, and it opens up the menu. They call it the
bloom.
The bloom. And then if you close your fingers back up like the flower closing in a bloom, it closes the menu. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
It's very amazing. People complain about this narrow viewing angle because the optics, we're in very early days. I don't believe consumers are going to get glasses like this for 2, 3, 4 years, right? Because they're too big, they're too expensive, the viewing angle is still too narrow, and there's no software yet for these things. So we need a lot of software to be written for the real world to wear these things.
It's kind of like the web. In the early days of the web, it was like, you put up the World Wide Web, but you didn't have background colors, you didn't have video, you didn't have audio, you just had some text on a page blinking.
But when it's done right, the Curiosity, the Mars simulation they've worked with JPL on the HoloLens it blew me away. I mean, I tried it in January, and it was just, I don't want to take this off. I want to wander around here for an awful lot longer. So I mean, if they can actually find a way to make the AR experience and go full VR within the same headset, that's going to be the game.
Yeah. Here it is. I'll pull it up on my screen for a second here. People can take a look at it. But it's actually pretty in the 1.0. I'm assuming this is the 1.0. And I think it's $3,000 for the developer kit. It's incredibly expensive.
Yeah. Although, incredibly expensive. My dad spent that much on an Apple II, right? And
for sure. $5,000.
The Apple II had 16K of RAM, had no software, had black and white screen, had no tape, no disk drive back then, right?
So it really fits well, and it feels very natural. That was the thing I was surprised about. I was like, I'm going to look like an idiot in this thing. It actually felt very natural to me to wear it. So does it use the Kinect, like Microsoft Kinect's?
Yeah, it came out of the Xbox team, actually, and a team in Microsoft Research. Alex Kipman runs the team, and the 4 sensors are using technology that's similar to the Kinect to map out the world. So it's building a new user interface, and whenever new user interfaces come, companies go away, big companies, right? When we went from DOS to Windows or DOS to Macintosh, WordPerfect and Borland went away. These were dramatically big and important companies of the day. Yeah. When the iPhone came along, BlackBerry and Nokia and Palm really
everything
went away.
Gone.
Everything's gone, right?
Yeah.
And this, in the next 5 years, we're going to get a new user interface, one that maps onto the real world as you look around. And HoloLens is, I think, a really important product for Microsoft.
Do you think it will really replace the iPhone?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Really?
Ian, what do you think? You buy that 10 years
today.
from now?
And keep in mind, you got to remember, this thing is going to shrink over the next 5 years to be a very, very small little thing.
It will be probably no different than a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
That's the eventual goal that Oculus are working towards as well. Yeah. It's getting into something that you can wear. Yeah. Well, we have yet to see anything from Magic Leap, which suggests they're, as to where they're going. But
they got $1.3 billion without having a product or a customer.
And let me just take a quick moment to tell all the startups listening that Scott Walker is an amazing attorney. I know because a lot of my incubator companies and investments use Scott Walker, and we just had a discussion about law firms on our discussion, our secret discussion group, and people were talking about how much they love working with Scott Walker and the Walker Corporate Law Firm. They're a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs and startups, and they encourage fixed fees. They believe billable hours reward inefficiency, and they just love to tell you this is what it's going to cost. How refreshing is that as an entrepreneur to not have that sticker shock, to not have that fear of opening up the PDF from your law firm and getting that ridiculous surprise that they went 3 times over. You're not going to have that happen with the Walker Corporate Law Group because they do fixed fees, and all their lawyers have a decade or 2 of experience. No junior associates who are getting on-the-job training with your startup. They do mergers and acquisitions, licensing arrangements, terms of service, privacy policies, and they just love working with startups. The founder, Scott Ed Walker, is a total mensch and just a lover of startups. I've known him for a long time. He comes to all my events, and he's indefatigable in his support of founders. You can give him a call right now, 415-979-9998. 415 is San Francisco, 979-9998, 979-9998, or email Scott at Walker Corporate Law, Scott at WalkerCorporateLaw.com, or visit WalkerCorporateLaw.com. And you can follow Scott Ed Walker on the Twitter, at Scott Ed Walker. And everybody go ahead and thank at Scott Ed Walker on Twitter if you're a super fan, because he has been, I think he's the longest running partner of the show. So thanks again to Scott Walker for representing my companies and doing a great job at it.